Hey everyone, welcome back to Medical Terminology 1. Today we're going to discuss Chapter 4, the human body and orientation. Let's get started, shall we? Learning outcomes for Chapter 4 include 4.1, understand the elements of the human body organization and structure from the cellular to the system level. 4.2, we're going to identify and locate the body cavities and list organs that are contained within each cavity. 4.3, we will describe the directional terms, planes, regions of the body, and body positions. And finally, 4.4, we will identify commonly used abbreviations related to the human body organization and regions of the body. All right, let's get started on 4.1, body structure and organization. The body is organized from its smallest element, the cell, to the collection of systems, with all its interrelated parts. Cells. Cells vary in size, shape, and function. They need food and water and oxygen to live and function. It's a living organism. Contains three basic structures. You need to know this. It has the cell membrane, the nucleus, and the cytoplasm. Now, something to realize is cells make up tissues. We're going to talk about that next. So a group of cells with specialized functions classifies as tissue. There are four basic types of cells. So we have connective tissue, epithelial tissue, muscle tissue, and nerve tissue. Tissues also make up organs. So as you can see here, groups of tissues perform a specific function is what an organ is. So kidneys maintain water and salt balance. The stomach breaks down food. We have more of these, as you know. And organs make up systems. So a group of organs working together for a common purpose. They work together to support functions within the body, such as your respiratory system. Let's look more at organ systems. So the following systems make up the organ system. So we have the integumentary, which we know is our skin. We have the skeletal, which is comprised of all our bones and ligaments. And we have our muscular, which has tendons, muscle fibers, all that fun stuff. And then we have the nervous system, the endocrine system, cardiovascular system, the lymphatic system, the digestive system, respiratory, urinary, and reproductive systems as well. You can see them all here. One system that doesn't get enough attention, I do want to mention, is the lymphatic system. So when you get to the area where we're going to be talking about that, make sure you pay attention. It does a lot more work than people give it credit for. And here you can see the body cavities. Cavities include the cranial cavity, which contain the brain, and then the vertebral cavity, which is our spine, thoracic cavity, which is the chest area that's above the diaphragm, and then we have the abdominal cavity, that is everything below the diaphragm. All right, 4.3, directional terms, planes, and regions. You're going to use this, you'll see it, learn it, love it, live it. All right, directional terms locate a portion of the body. Standard terminology is used to refer to different areas of the body. Anatomical position is the point of reference. Standing erect, facing forward, upper limbs at the sides with the palms facing forward. That is an example of the anatomic position, which we will see on the next slide. So directional and positional terms, as you can see here, we have our guy up at the top. He is standing correctly in anatomic position. So we're going to be using different terms such as anterior. Anterior is moving from the back of the body to the front, as you can see the arrow in this diagram. Then for posterior, it's going from front to back. So it's going towards the back. Then we have superior and inferior. I'm going to say these in conjunction because these are actually pairs. They're opposite pairs. So anterior, posterior are pairs. And then we have superior, inferior. We'll get back to that. So superior is starting at the bottom going towards the top. So as you can see, these are movement type of directional terms. So something is actually moving in that direction, not just pointing in that direction. Inferior is the opposite of superior, so it's starting at the top moving down. Now it doesn't mean it has to start at the top of the head. It can actually start anywhere on the body, but as long as it's moving downward, it is in an inferior direction. Then we have medial and lateral. So medial, as you can see in our wonderful lady's image over here, she has a line directly in the middle. This line is called a mid-sagittal line, which we will talk about a little bit more in a minute. But medial means we're going towards the middle. Think of like medium, right? There's small, medium, large. Medium's in the middle. So medial means middle, we're going towards the middle. Now lateral means we're going from mid-sagittal line and we're going outwards. Another good way to remember this is the word later is in lateral. So, when you see you later, you're leaving, right? So we're leaving that mid-sagittal line. Then we have proximal and distal. This one can get a little confusing, but bear with me. So proximal is talking about the closest point of attachment to the trunk of the body. Distal is the farthest point of attachment from the trunk of the body. So as you can see, our gentleman here, we have arrows towards the shoulder, at the shoulder really, and going up towards the thigh, because that's where it connects. So if it's proximal, like say he broke his, we'll say he broke his femur. So if he broke his femur bone, and we'll say he broke it at the proximal end, then it will be up near his groin. Now, if we say he had broken his femur in the distal end, it was a distal femur fracture or something, it's going to be closer to the knee because it's farther away from the point of attachment. I'm hoping that makes sense. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Here we have supine, and we're going to also talk about prone, which is the opposite. Remember, we're doing these in pairs. So supine is when the patient is laying on their back facing upwards. We'll also learn about a motion called supination, and that is the same type of thing where it's moving upwards, but it's a motion. We'll get to that later. Then here we have prone. Prone is when they're laying on their stomach. You can think they're in a prone position for an attack. They can't really see what's coming. And then there's also the motion pronation. Now let's discuss the planes of the body. So standard terms are used for the planes and positions of the body. The planes refer to the body when it is vertical and facing front. Let's look at some of these planes. Here you can see that the anatomic positions are shown from the anterior or front of the body and posterior or the back of the body. Descriptions are described based on the direction from the midsection of the body: medial, lateral, proximal, and distal. So as you can see here, the frontal plane is going to divide the body into equal front and back portions. Then we have the mid-sagittal. Now because it's mid-sagittal, mid meaning middle, it divides the body into equal right and left portions. Then we have transverse. Transverse technically is any plane that crosses across the body. So it could be up here, or it could be down here by her legs, or it could be up here by her chest. The point is that it's cutting it in a direction to where there's a top and bottom. Back to mid-sagittal real quick, there's also a plane called the sagittal plane, and that's just meaning it's a vertical plane and it can be anywhere right or left. It doesn't have to be in the middle. If it's in the middle, then it is termed the mid-sagittal. And then down here, we can see that we have those directions. So anterior is from the back going front. We will also learn the term ventral for the front, and then dorsal also means back. So that's the posterior. So that's coming from the front going towards the back. Here's that superior, inferior. So superior is moving up, inferior is moving down, and sagittal or lateral means it's moving to the side. That's what I mean by the sagittal plane can actually move. It's not just a direction. Regions of the body refer to specific organ, area, or bone in the upper body. The middle portion is referred to as abdominal and pelvic cavities. The larger division, we have 4 quadrants. Smaller divisions, we have the 9 regions. Let's discuss that a little bit more. Here you can see we have quadrants. Then we have the umbilical or the umbilicus, and that is the point in which everything splits. And from here you can see we have a right upper quadrant, a right lower quadrant, a left upper quadrant, and a left lower quadrant. So that's how the quadrants will work. Remember, quad means 4, so we have 4 sections. Now let's talk about our regions. The 9 regions of the abdomen are in rows of 3, from right to left always. So we have the right hypochondriac. Now let's talk about this real quick, because you might see the prefix hypo and think, but that's at the top. A lot of people would get this confused and think hypo belongs at the bottom, as in hypogastric, which we'll get to in a minute. Hypochondriac, chondro, actually means cartilage. So this means below the cartilage. What cartilage you might be asking? We're talking about the cartilage that connects the ribs to the sternum in the chest area. So it's below that. Then we have our epigastric. Epi means upon or over. Gastro means stomach. So this is the area above the stomach. Then we have our left hypochondriac region. So this will go region 1, region 2, region 3. Then for 4, we come back over here. We always go from right to left. And when I say right to left, we're going from the patient's right to the patient's left. Number 4 is the right lumbar section, the right lumbar region. Then we have the umbilical region. Remember, that's kind of where our main point was for our quadrants. Then we have the left lumbar region. And then, so that's 4, 5, 6, and then 7 is down here, the right iliac region. So the iliac is a portion of the pelvic bone. We'll learn about that one in our musculoskeletal system. So we have the right iliac region, then hypogastric, remember hypo means below, so now we're below the stomach. And then we have the left iliac region to wrap it up. If you have any questions about your 9 regions, feel free to reach out. So let's discuss these abbreviations. So you will see LLQ in documentation, LUQ, RLQ, or UQ. You need to know that these mean lower left quadrant, left upper quadrant. RLQ is right lower quadrant. RUQ is right upper quadrant. Then we have LAT, which you'll see means lateral. AP means anteroposterior, which means from the front to the back. So this is a motion, a movement that is happening. It's moving from the front to the back. All right, chapter review. 4.1, the body is organized from its smallest element, the cell, to the collection of systems with all of its interrelated parts. So tissues are a group of cells with specialized functions. Organs are a group of tissues that work together to perform a function. I would also like to mention here, a good way to remember this is cells make up tissues, tissues make up organs, and organs make up systems. Think of systems are your largest part, right? They're something that have to be controlled. All right, 4.2, body cavities are the spaces that hold organs. Body cavities are grouped according to location. Then we have 4.3, in making diagnoses or prescribing treatments, health care providers use standard terms to refer to different areas of the body. These terms describe each anatomical position as a point of reference. The anatomical position always means the body is standing erect, facing forward with the upper limbs at the sides with the palms facing forward. Directional terms are used by healthcare providers to describe a position of the body. The planes refer to the body when it is vertical and facing front. And finally, 4.4, abbreviations that are commonly used to describe the organization and regions of the body. Well, everyone, that is all I have for you today. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing you for the next chapter. Bye.